Guys, and welcome to the next video lecture in our series, Greenhouse Gases Lesson Part 2. So once again, I hope you have your notes ready. As always, you can make half screen here and have the video running on one side. Other side. Hopefully you've seen the tip that you can full screen this. So when you open up this video, there's a little button at the bottom that says full screen. Click on that. You can make me bigger and then you can make me smaller, however you need to do that. But let's begin. And always, also just remember that you are always welcome to pause me, rewind me, whatever you need to do as you're going through the notes. All right, today's objectives are to describe the global effect, global warming, and the causes and effects of climate change. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to look at a couple of graphs that analyze greenhouse gases and ice melt data and relate it to the causes and effects of climate change. And then we'll be getting more into ice melt next when we start talking about human impact. All right, so let's talk about the major contributors to greenhouse gas. So obviously there are a lot of different factors. We saw that carbon cycle, right? We saw there's multiple ways that carbon dioxide is getting into our atmosphere. But here's some of the factors we'll talk about that put excessive carbon gases in our atmosphere. Combustion is a big one. Combustion is simply burning of fossil fuels. That means driving cars, any type of burning of organic matter such as forests, so forest fires, burning biomass. And it's not to say any of these in themselves are wrong, it's just we want to make sure we're keeping things in moderation. So the burning of coal and things like that to make electricity, all those things are really big contributors of CO2 and other greenhouse gases into our environment. Deforestation is a big one. Remember we talked about there's a lot of ways to put CO2 back into the atmosphere. There's very few ways to take it out. And in fact, one of the major ways is photosynthesis, which is only done by plants. And big photosynthesizers are big plants, which are trees. So the cutting down of trees means that there's less carbon dioxide that can be taken up by plants because there's fewer plants. So obviously cutting down large chunks of forest is leading to our excessive greenhouse gases because there's not as many photosynthesizers out there who can remove the CO2 from the atmosphere. Decomposition is another one. Organisms and landfill waste, obviously as things are breaking down and back into their molecule parts, they're going to release gases, and obviously filling up our landfills with excessive trash and things like that is increasing the amount of greenhouse gas. Cellular respiration, this one's very minor, and obviously we aren't going to stop this one because we need to breathe. But yes, we are contributing to the amount of CO2 out into the atmosphere. All living things that do cellular respiration are. Remember, we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out CO2 and water vapor. So this is very minute though. This is not on a huge scale though, and obviously not something we are going to stop doing anytime soon. Agricultural digestion, this is the one where I talked about the cow farts. So cow farts are a big contributor of methane into our greenhouse gases. Once again, it is not a bad thing at all. It's just about balance and understanding that it is a contributor. So just wanted to be aware of that. So not saying cows are bad at all. That's not at all what we're saying. But they are a contributor. And then volcanoes. Once again, a lot of these we can't control, guys. Livestock farting, us breathing. None of these are we saying are bad at all. They're just facts that say, hey, these are ways that CO2 are being released. And volcanoes are not something we can control. Volcanoes are going to erupt, and when they do, they're going to release a large amount of carbon dioxide and water into the atmosphere at one time. So this shows you, here are some of the graphs over the last, from 1978 to about the 2010s, that shows you the increase of these different greenhouse gases in our environment. So you can see here that carbon dioxide has been on the rise, methane has been on the rise, but it is starting to slow down a little bit, which is a good thing. nitrous oxide is increasing, and CFCs. Now this is an interesting one. Of the three graphs, the CFC one is the one that's different. As you can see, it's pretty much flattened out and actually it's heading down. That's because in the 90s, we realized that the release of CFCs were destroying the ozone. It was creating a hole in the ozone, and that's not a good thing at all because of the fact that the ozone protects UV rays from coming to the earth. And without that ozone, more of those UV rays come in, and it can lead to things like mutations and cancer. So there was a big push globally to reduce the amount of CFCs we did, and we did a great job of it. And so we see this curve is flattened a lot and is even going down, which is a great thing for our atmosphere. And in fact, as we've seen, the hole over the Arctic actually has repaired itself significantly from what it was back when we first noticed this happening. So very good thing here happening with the CFCs. All right, so for today, I want you to look at how much carbon are you putting out there just directly. This is called your carbon footprint. The carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions caused directly by an individual. So we're going to look at how much do we put out. And this is just to make you aware of your greenhouse gas emissions. All right, so I'm going to talk about our assignment, but you're going to download the document from Canvas, and you're going to head to this link. As always, guys, use that control-click tip on the blue things. It'll take you directly there. I also highly recommend that you use Google Chrome. Complete the questions to the best of your knowledge. You're going to go through what's called a footprint calculator, and you need to answer honestly. Guys, there's nothing going to come from this. It's not like there's any consequence for this. It's just to be aware, to inform you. So be honest about what's going on in your life. So it's going to ask you things like how maybe, you know, how many car rides you take in a day. Now I realize we're in a very different situation right now. So just think of your normal average day, what you would have been doing. And then answer the worksheet questions once you get to the end, okay? So your assignment is to complete this carbon footprint activity. I already mentioned, go ahead and download the document. Use that control-click tip, complete this assignment, and then make sure you save it and then re-upload it to Canvas. It will be due April 20th at 11 p.m. for you guys. All right, guys. Once again, my pleasure talking to you guys, and I'll see you soon.